Hello, hello, hello. Hi you guys. I hope you guys Friday night is going well. I hope that you guys are balanced, calibrated, your energy center is taken care of. As I mentioned earlier today, this is definitely a more difficult topic than not because at the end of the day, we're talking about the fact that a young woman has lost her life. Um, as a result of police interaction. Okay. So I want to know how many of you have had a chance to actually go through and look up, you know, details around the case. That would be my first question. Hey, Money Boy Trey, how are you? Shout out to the chat. Hopefully, you guys are really engaged in this conversation and ask some of the difficult questions that I feel like there are a lot of people asking right now. I'm gonna play for you guys a clip that I didn't get a chance to play earlier, but also I'm gonna play a couple of clips. Just give me a sec. Hold on.
Wilson's family of 19-year-old Alexis Wilson in Dalton. Wilson's family provided CBS 2 with these pictures of the teen. Just hours ago, Wilson's father spoke out, saying he found out about his daughter's death after seeing a story on the news.
All we want is justice, man. And they still, the dumb police have still not told me who killed my daughter.
It started as some sort of confrontation in a fast food drive-thru. Then when police arrived, a male passenger got out of a van. They say Wilson then sped off, hitting a squad car, dragging an officer. Another officer fired several shots into that van. It plowed into a bicycle shop.
Some of this stuff you absolutely just cannot make up. So let's talk about it. How do you guys feel about what you just saw? The surveillance footage from the restaurant. Um, and we're going to talk about a little bit about what's the waning story right now about why it is that this young lady was upset and all of that good stuff. I'm going to pull up the hours of operation really quickly. Have you guys ever gone to a place, to a restaurant in general, and then you know that that restaurant is supposed to be open, and then like you're super hungry, pressed about your meal, and they're not open, but they're in there, but they're not open. Just make you just all types of crazy. So this is the location, Dalton, Illinois, right here. Says that they're open and they close at 4 a.m. That's what it says. Everybody see it? Let's see if they got different hours on different days. How about that? Let's do our due diligence here. Because I did see that they had different hours for different locations. Here we go. Make this part smaller, maybe. Oh, it won't let me. Hold on, let me just make this screen bigger. There we go. Okay. Indiana, Indiana, Indiana. That food does look good. Mm. Is it gonna make me threaten them? Oh wee. Mm-mm. So the ones in Indiana, they close early. They're not with that staying open late stuff. Okay. So let's go back over here and look at the hours of operation for this other one. For this one. See, some of them close at 12 a.m. You got some of them closing at 2 a.m. This one apparently is the only one that stays open for that long. See, this one closes at 4 a.m. Let me make this just so you guys can see the whole screen. Okay, so let's see if they. This was on Tuesday night. So, no, Tuesday morning. Yeah, it was on Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. So here we are, right here. It would have been between Monday and Tuesday. This is what it looks like in the back. I guess it looked fairly clean. Good God, look at this food, you guys. I'm getting excited. Look at that. I gained 20 pounds off of eating Baba Good Food. Cheap prices. Huh. Who gave him a one? I paid for my meal and the cashier refused to give me my order. Nice, clean place. Food wasn't bad either. Staff was very, very pleasant and decent. Prices. Uh, this is a super chicken Philly for $14.99. I am disappointed in the size, leaving me wondering the size of the regular chicken Philly is different than it used to be. I think is what they meant. We're not judging their grammar. Mm. It says I ordered Italian beef dipped with nacho cheese and hot peppers, a Philly mix with just American cheese and peppers dipped, mild sauce on the fries, and watermelon lemonade. None of the stuff I ordered was correct. Okay. Obviously, they got some bad reviews too. Mm. But that food looked good. And that was 3 weeks ago. That person gave them a bad review. They got a 3.8 overall. They got quite a few ones, couple of twos, but mostly fives, okay? And fours. Fours are pretty hefty. So let's say there obviously people are upset, but I don't see any complaints so far with those in relation to the time that they close, okay? And the one that we're looking at is the one that is in this one, Dalton. Supposed to close at 4 a.m. I'm not giving her any outs, okay? We're not giving any outs here. I'm just pointing out what's already there. You say it happens all the time in the hood. What? They close early? Mm, man, this is good. But so this place was supposed to close at 4 a.m. They didn't. The one part that I left out is that the young lady, Alexis, was only wearing a tank top. I don't know if that means she ain't have no drawers on. I don't know. But that's what was said. So if she was wearing only a tank top and you ask her to get out of the car, I don't know. Odds are she probably not getting out of the car. But then again, the young man complied. We saw the young man comply before she drove off and did all of this stuff, hit the police cruiser. You still have a police officer that is currently still in the hospital in critical condition. How are you guys feeling about the charges that they came out to investigate? The call that was made from the restaurant. How do you guys feel about people who work in the restaurant, these restaurant workers, knowing y'all supposed to be open, but you're not open at 1 a.m. and you're supposed to close at 4 a.m.? I don't want to give any outs, but let me say this. We need better distress management skills. So even if a restaurant is supposed to be open until 4 a.m., and here we find ourselves at this drive-through window at 1 a.m., and we can't get our food, there are only one of two ways that a person could have known or assumed that she had a gun. Anybody know what those ways are? Because now everybody putting the blame on them people over there. Hold on, let me go and share this other screen real quick. This one. This is the one that I showed you guys earlier. And the audio wouldn't play and it glitched. This is the restaurant. Why does it kind of remind me of you know that one place? Zestos. Yeah. It doesn't remind you of Zestos? Looking at the building? Just make me upset all over again? Okay. I guess this is an advertisement. Let's wait for it to go.
Dalton police officers were hurt and a woman killed in an officer-involved shooting.
That woman was driving at the time the vehicle crashed into a business. Eric Rung has been following the story. He's live in Dalton this morning with the latest. Eric?
Well, good morning. You can see right here behind me all of the damage that the minivan did as it crashed into this bicycle shop here. We're told that a Dalton police officer was hanging onto that car when it crashed. Now, all of this started at a restaurant about a block from where we're standing called Baba's. That's where an officer opened fire. That officer was hit by the woman driving that car. We're told that he is going to be okay. That other officer is in serious condition here this morning as police continue their investigation. It was just before 1 this morning when police got a 911 call from the employees at Baba's drive-thru in Dalton.
The employees complained of a woman who was irate and acting irrationally at the drive-thru window and that she had a gun.
Dalton police spokesperson Sean Howard says when officers arrived, they asked of both the woman, who was wearing nothing but a halter top, and a man to get out of the minivan. The man got out, but the woman would not.
One of the officers attempted to remove her from the vehicle, and it was during that exchange where she put the car in drive and drove off, dragging the officer in the parking lot.
Howard says that she then drove toward another officer.
The vehicle was therefore being used as a weapon. That officer discharged his weapon multiple times into the car, wounding the female.
After hitting that officer, Howard says that the woman then took off down the street hitting a squad car. A surveillance camera on a nearby house captured what happened next. If you look just under the timestamp, you'll see the minivan crash into the bicycle shop. Howard says that the officer was still hanging onto the minivan when it crashed. That officer is in serious condition. The woman driving did not survive. It's not clear if she died from gunshot wounds or the crash, or if a gun was recovered at the scene.
There's body cam footage. There's footage from the video at the Baba's restaurant.
The mayor of Dalton says that she stands behind her officers, though she says that she hasn't seen any of the video, all of which has been turned over to the Illinois State Police. The owner of the bike shop, Howard, who only wanted us to use his first name, has been in business here for 30 years. He also lives above the store.
Let's shut the house for you. I was surprised to see that there was as much damage.
Now, we're told that the man that was with the woman who did not survive here this morning was taken into custody, but is cooperating with police. So far, no charges have been filed against him. We do expect another update from Dalton Police a little later on today. We're live in Dalton. I'm Eric Run, WGN News.
Log on to News Nation now.
Okay, so there's that. Hello, how are you? So let's talk about this. Trey, how are you feeling? Haven't heard that whole story. And how do you feel about that? Is it a female, Miss Ware?
Well, it look like a lady. You never know.
Yeah, I never know. But so let's talk about this. How do you guys feel about the presentation of this young lady's family? Um, the way that the father, I showed you guys the. Did I show you guys the mom's response?
No, I didn't.
I think you guys just saw the dad, but the mom is there. The mom is in a group with me on Facebook. Sorry, you guys, I didn't get a chance to reach out to her. I have a police officer that's going to weigh his perspective in on the whole situation very soon. He was due to be on tonight, but we got a little conflict here. You know what I mean? Scheduling conflict, and that's okay. But I am gonna bring him on a separate day, maybe my regular show day, Monday night. Hold on, let me pull up Illinois State Bar Rights because that's the next segment. Okay, so this is from the Illinois State Bar Association, so you guys can see where it's from. Putting it at the top so you can see. So let's talk about some of your rights. You know, so if you are arrested, okay, it is important that you know and assert your constitutional rights. An informed and alert citizenry is the best guarantee that these rights will be upheld for the benefit of all persons at all times. Okay? The basic rights of a citizen under arrest are stated in the 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendments of the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. Any questions about that part? You let me know if you see it. No person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's the 5th Amendment. Okay. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused, and this is for those of you who were on here last night, Miss Sandy, just in case you come in, ma'am, this is for you. So you guys understand criminals versus alleged criminals. The accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury and to be informed by the nature and cause of the accusations, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. That's the 6th Amendment. And this applies to hers too, so it doesn't matter if you are his, hers, they, them, whatever you want to be referred as, however you identify, okay? Any questions about that one? Anything seem not so clear about that? Okay, let's move on. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor shall cruel and unusual punishments be inflicted. That is the 8th Amendment. Any questions about that? There are none? Okay, so let's move on to this part. Because I feel like this is a really important one. Since the adoption of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, the states have also had to guarantee these rights. This amendment provides no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States. Okay? Many of the provisions found in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution also appear in the Bill of Rights of Illinois Constitution. Did y'all hear what I said? So your state has a constitution. So if you're curious about what your rights are in the event that you are arrested, right? Because we're going to go all the way through this thing. This is where you can find said information. Okay. So the following discussion is based upon both constitutions and upon other laws governing the citizens of this state. So we're only talking about the folks who are in Illinois. You see how wonderful and specific this information on the internet can be? Like, y'all use the internet for Google and all that stuff, but y'all don't Google. Y'all wait to know public information, government websites where you can actually elevate yourself. But we're going to get to that today. Who can make an arrest? Okay. Any law enforcement officer, such as a police officer, sheriff, deputy sheriff, or state trooper, can make an arrest. The arrest may be made with or without a warrant, depending on the circumstances. Okay. A warrant is an order issued by a judge describing the person to be arrested and the charges against that person. It directs all law enforcement officers to arrest the person named in the complaint. A law enforcement officer must have a warrant for your arrest unless one of the following circumstances exist. Let's listen. The law enforcement officer has grounds to believe that a warrant for your arrest has been issued in this state or in another jurisdiction. That could be a phone call, right? You commit or attempted to commit a crime in the presence of an officer. Did she commit or attempt to commit a crime in the presence of a law enforcement member? I think the answer to that question is yes. Okay, so let's go to this one. The officer has probable cause to believe both that a crime has been committed and that you are the person who committed it. Okay? So they made it very clear. A phone call was made from the restaurant alleging that there was an irate customer in the drive-thru who was pissed off because the restaurant was not open at 1 a.m. and they were supposed to only close at 4 a.m. That person was irate, just in case you guys don't know which laws are being infringed upon at that part. It's a couple of them. But, you cannot be disturbing the peace. That is a violation. That's a basic violation, okay? Regardless of whether the arrest is made with or without a warrant, the arrested person should be brought before the nearest and most accessible judge in that county without unnecessary delay. Now, this one talks about the citizen's arrest. I don't know how many of you need that information. Does anybody need that information? Because, you can ask me what your question is, but I'm going to continue to read this one. You could definitely send me your question, though. So let me go over here. I want to cover your rights after arrest. Your rights after your arrest. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that as soon as you are taken into questioning, right? Let me highlight that so y'all know where I am. You must be informed of the following, commonly known as your Miranda rights. Now you guys should probably be able to see that. Is that large enough for you to see? Mm-hmm. Great. You have the constitutional right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. In addition to advising you of your rights, the arresting authorities must respect your rights. For example, you cannot legally be required or forced by a police officer or anyone else to talk, to answer questions, or to sign any papers. If you are forced to give incriminating information by threats, by persistent questioning, or by any other means of coercion, you can prevent its use against you in court. So, I want you guys to understand what's happening here. And the reason that I'm going through this, because I feel like there are so many young Black people, because I'm really sick of seeing this. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to call a thing, because our police officers need to be protected. Our police officers have a job to do. Our police officers are people. Our police officers have families that they need to get home to every single night after having a long day at work. They need to get home to in the morning after having a long and tedious night beating these streets, okay? This is a job, people. This is a job like every other job. And this is a job that, for me, I feel like teachers and police officers are the most underpaid people in the workforce for their responsibility to our children and our future. So, you do not have a right to resist arrest. Did you hear that? And anything that I said, is anybody hearing that in what I'm saying? Like, that's not your right. You don't have a right to. You just don't. Okay? So, let me get here. Within a reasonable time after you have been taken into custody, you have a right to make a reasonable number of telephone calls or otherwise communicate with an attorney of your choice and a member of your family. If you are transferred to a new place of custody, this right of communication is renewed. If you are not a United States citizen, you must be informed within 48 hours of booking or detention of your right to contact your local consulate or embassy. Consular office officials may visit you, help you arrange for legal representation, and contact your family. You have a right to an itemized receipt for all money and property taken from your person after you are taken into custody. You have a right to be booked within a reasonable period of time. Booking is the entry of a charge against you in a record called the arrest book or police blotter. Should your detention go beyond a reasonable period of time without booking, more than several hours or perhaps overnight, your attorney may go to a judge and obtain a writ of habeas corpus. This is a court order instructing the police to bring you before the court so that a judge may decide whether you are being held lawfully. I don't think we need to talk about the obtaining release on bail. Let's talk about your rights in court, though. Your rights in court. You have a right to a reasonable time to prepare a defense before being tried in court. Whether or not you decline your right to be represented by counsel during police interrogation, you have the right to be represented by an attorney in all court proceedings. So whether you elected to talk freely with the cops after they arrested you, I'm just going to make this in layman terms, or not, you still have a right to legal counsel in the courtroom where the legal decisions are being made, okay, based off of said information given by the police officer to the prosecutor, DA's office, whatever you guys want to call them, solicitor's office, blah, blah, blah. You are entitled to a reasonable time to obtain a lawyer of your own choosing. If you want a lawyer and cannot afford one, the court must appoint one to defend you. You are entitled to know the charge against you and to have, without a cost, a copy of the formal paper that contains the charge. You are entitled to plead not guilty. If you choose to do so, you will be tried by an impartial jury unless you specifically waive your rights to a jury trial. You are not required to testify if you do not wish to do so. If you do not testify, neither the judge nor jury can consider your silence as evidence of guilt. In the eyes of the law, you are innocent unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by the evidence presented in court by the prosecution. So this goes to the discussion from last night for those of you who are curious about what the laws are and who's a criminal and who's not a criminal just because they've been arrested. But, you guys figure they're criminals just because they were arrested, not conviction, right? Okay, so that's that part. If you are not a U.S. citizen, the judge must inform you before accepting a guilty plea that a criminal conviction could result in immigration consequences, including immigration detention, custody, and removal, which is deportation, from the United States. How you plead and whether you testify are vitally important questions, and you should have the advice of a lawyer. All right, so I'm going to post a link to these rights for you guys in the chat. You know why? Because I feel like I have a lot of people on here from time to time who have very illegitimate arguments. Okay. And a lot of people on here who like to avoid accountability. And this particular station is dedicated to accountability for a couple of reasons. I would like people to have reliable information so that we can do something besides hit police officers and find ourselves a hashtag and dead with parents who are grieving and feeling away and holding the city's police officers accountable for that. Now, I want to say two things. I don't know. I don't know what it feels like to have a child murdered. I don't know what it feels like to have a child killed by a police officer. I don't know what it feels like for a lot of things, right? For me, because I haven't had these things happen to me. I can definitely empathize with a parent who is experiencing this, though. And I want to say this. Accountability is still very important. So you as a parent, you know the limitations, you know the possibilities, you know the potential in the child that you sent out into this world. You know these things, okay? Even though my heart goes out to this young lady's mom and father and family, cousins, uncles, aunts, grandparents that are living and deceased, because at the end of the day, I told you guys, you are a walking, living representation of what your lineage is. You are literally their extensions. So if you misbehave and you misrepresent yourself, you behave and you misrepresent your ancestors directly. So I feel sorry for everybody involved, but the larger issue here is that we have two police officers that have been severely injured in the line of duty at a job they are barely even compensated for doing at all, as a result of a young lady who was 19 years old who has zero accountability. And you can tell that from her parents appearing on national television with questions about, you won't tell me who killed my baby, as if this young man who was in the car with her, these people who are in this restaurant in fear of her, as if everybody lying. Everybody Alexis is no longer talking, you guys. She's dead. That's the reality. But when you have witnesses at the scene and you have a young man who has complied with the police request for him to step out of the car, a young Black man who has done everything that these police officers have asked him to do. Furthermore, he never even ran after the fact. Nobody is asking these questions. When she was busy running over police officers, he stayed his course. You ask me, that was his opportunity to get the hell on. But he didn't. You want to know why? Anybody know why? Because he ain't do nothing wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. Now, what I said is I never had children who were killed by police officers. I never said my kids never had police interaction. My kids are held accountable at every level. So I don't care if the police are having an encounter because they're doing a random stop. What do you call those checkpoints? Roadblocks. I don't care if they're doing that. I don't care if it's something else. At the end of the day, a police officer is in a position of authority. So you are to respect those police officers. Furthermore, you are to know your rights. I feel like it's my job to, educate my children on what their rights are. But also it's my job to hold them accountable as to what the expectations of citizenship is. So the problem that the Black community has that I see is that we're not teaching our kids their inalienable rights, and we're not holding them accountable when they should be held accountable, but we're taking a laissez-faire approach to parenting. You can't make this stuff up. At the end of the day, if we fail to parent, if we fail to plan, if we fail to prepare, if we fail to mold, fail to cultivate, fail to shape, fail to advise our young people that we are directly responsible for parenting, guess what? We fail our kids. You got one job as parents. You got one job as parents. That's it. That's all. The way your children respond to the world around you has a lot to do with what you conditioned and prepared them for at home, because it all starts at home. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, no. She had to go to school. When she went to school, the school influenced her like XYZ. Guess what? It all starts at home. So even if she went to school and school says XYZ, if she were properly conditioned, then in the back of her mind would be, that's outside of my willingness. I can't do that. That goes against my personal standards of being. She would have what Kevin Samuels and Cynthia G has been misreferencing. The cognitive dissonance would be there to prevent her from doing the things that ended up in her life being no longer here. So I want to know how you guys feel about this topic. How do you guys feel about where her parents are standing right now? And more importantly, I wish I could bring up that video. I could have. You guys, I should have just went ahead and did this show earlier, but I had another session. I had more patience. But I wish you guys could see that video. And if you guys find that video on Facebook, because it's floating around Facebook, the one with the family's attorney. I'm over all of these family attorneys hopping on this black kid killed wagon. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. The Black community needs proper representation. That's not people who are looking for excuses. I need people who are looking for exceptions. We need people who are willing to educate us. We need people who are willing to elevate us. We need people who are willing to hold us accountable so we move into a greater level of functioning. There is no way in hell, heaven, the galaxy, the moon, the stars, the universe, or anything else that this young lady was not in these people's drive-through with a weapon, behaving irate, and all those things that these people call the police on her for. It's no way. It's no way. You got a whole black man in the car with you that got out the car, complied with police. He's not the one being charged. He's observing your behaviors. So I have to say that I commend the mayor for standing behind her officers, because that's something that Atlanta's shitty ass mayor refuses to do. And as a result, we've seen kids kill. Okay. I had to get that out there. Period. Keisha Lance Bottom is a person that has to be held accountable for her lack of doing what it is that the people have elected you to do. Period. So this woman who is their mayor, standing behind the actions of those police officers, you have my utmost respect at this point. Is it a very, very difficult situation? Yes. I hate to even think about a young person having to experience an abrupt death like this. But I'm curious as to why it is she only had a top on and had no bottoms off. I mean, had no bottoms on. There are several questions for me. There are several questions for me in this situation. I'm curious as to why it is that this young man complied and didn't try to get her something to put on her. I know that you guys feel differently, but I'm a person who believes in holding people accountable, and I feel like we never held the young man, young man that was in Breonna Taylor's life, accountable. Crickets. You shot down a whole empty hallway. You fired the first shot, sir. This woman is now dead. Instead of the Black community trying to take some accountability, hold this young man accountable, and all these things, instead we want to look for escape routes, excuses. And parents have to now sit with the fact that they had to bury their young daughter. I don't know what the real issue is here. It's very difficult when I'm trying to gauge why it is that Black men feel so silenced now. And I would love to support you, young man. Just help me help you. Like, help me help you. Give me what it is that the Black man needs in order for him to reposition himself in a society to where he is now feeling like he owes something. Anything. Anything at all to his community. So let's see. Yeah, so let's go to the comments and let's see what you guys got. My sector does debates. You get $50 just for showing up, and the winner gets $150. We want you to debate about Umar Johnson. The channel is called Be Accountable. We would love if you can debate D. Durrell. I don't know a lot about that guy, but I've heard. Hey, Lawrence, how are you? Shout out to you guys in the chat. Let me know how you guys are feeling about this this situation. And we're going to move on to the next topic, because the next topic is a more intimate look at, what's motivating Kevin Samuels. Okay. So I know, like this is a really tough one, right? So we spoke briefly the other night, I think it was last night or the night before last, about the level of hypersexuality of females in the Black community, and as a result, Black men feeling like this is something that silences them or limits and restricts their voices and things like that. So I wanted to come back to the conversation and basically ask you guys how you feel about your current position in the Black community. As Black men, do you feel like you're silenced? Do you feel like you have an opinion that is not as valued? Do you feel like, due to the fourth wave of feminism, you have been not only taken out of the home, but also taken out of the equation as an important element to stability and the continuation of legacy in the Black and brown community? When I saw this story, right, unfolding, because my thing was, even as I was watching it and getting ready to cover this story, I'm like, well, what is the attorney going to say? What's his, where are his questions? I was disappointed. But that's not to say that he isn't a great attorney, because who knows? He might just look like a piece of shit right now. Sorry, but it is what it is. So I think that he was on, what was it, day 2? Let me be honest, you guys. Day 1.5, not day 2. He was asking to see camera footage, body cams, blah, blah, blah. He was asking to see all of this stuff. Meanwhile, these police officers are fighting for their lives in the hospital. And this is what you're saying, that they're not being transparent, and they're literally, these people are still in, you don't even know if they're going to live or not. you know? So I felt like maybe in this situation, and he is a younger black male, right? So I'm seeing a lot of black men be in powerful or being placed in powerful positions, but not being able to fully step into their grace or fully step into a position to where they can be validated and supported because they're only looking for opportunities that gives them instant gratification. So, you know, when you talk about instant gratification, if we talk about hypersexuality, that also is something that yields instant gratification. So let's pull up Refron again. American black males, black men and women are both portrayed as being hypersexual. Portrayed? Help me understand what you see as hypersexual. What do you see as normal? What do you guys? I think a good question is, what do you guys? Excuse me. What do you guys think is normal sexual activity? Normal sexual behavior. Let me clean that up. What's the process look like? And I guess a deeper question is, because I know Money Boy Trey has a lot of stuff to say. I'm not sure how much of that stuff is reality. How do you guys feel about the young men and women who have children with one another and frequent sexual situations with one another after the fact because they already have kids? So it's like, if we get pregnant, we already got kids. So mm. Let me see if I can pull up this disease stats. Mm-mm-mm. Let me see if I can find you guys the stats for the 2019. So this is basically how you guys can look for it. I know y'all see that 30% increase. Let me see if I can make this. One sec. I'm going to share that other screen. One second. There we go. Can you guys see it? Can you? Yeah, no? Maybe so. Hold on. Let me make it bigger. All right. Now you can see it. Let me make this one come a little bit lower. Okay. And you can see the African American or Black people were 5 to 8 times that of non-Hispanic white people. So when I say they're hypersexual, I'm talking about the outcomes. So we're looking at what the outcomes are. So let's read this for those of you who can't see it. New data published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, show that reported annual cases of sexually transmitted diseases in the United States continued to climb in 2019, reaching an all-time high for the sixth consecutive year. You got to remember that in 2019, a huge component to disease and infection period was COVID-19, even though you guys didn't really know about it just yet. So just ask a normal American Black man or woman what they like attractive about the opposite sex, and chances are very high that they're going to talk about sexual features. Of course, I'm gonna agree. I'm just curious as to what you think is hypersexual versus normative sexual encounters and behaviors in general, because the other part to that, God, it's like, hold on. The other part to that is the much needed, least explored conversation that this piece. So when I talk about the different generations of people, when I talk about the different generations of young people, and I talk about the different generations of people in general, right? There is a reason I'm talking about these things, and there is a reason why I feel like Kevin Samuels is capitalizing on these particular areas about the Black and brown community and the marriage stats or propensity for marriage stats and relationship issue, whereas he should be talking about this instead of pushing a person's sexual marketplace value, right? You should probably be limiting people from having sexual encounters, period, until they're in a viable marriage, right? But hey, we can only say that the disease rates have shot up in the past 20 years as a result of people adopting new mindsets around what it means to be sexually liberated as a female, as a feminist. As the definition of feminism has evolved, because I don't think that a lot of people are giving women their due diligence, because the feminist movement is not the same as it was initially, and we're not making the same level of segue that we were making previously. And let me tell you something, what happens is when people run out of things to advocate for, to fight for, that's when you end up with shit like this. But it is what it is. So the newly released 2019 STD surveillance report found that 2.5 million reported cases of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, the three most commonly reported STDs in 2019, a nearly 30% increase in these reportable STDs between 2015 and 2019. 30% in a 4-year time span is a ridiculous increase, just so you guys know. The sharpest increase was in cases of syphilis among newborns. I'm going to let that sit. Which nearly quadrupled between 2015 and 2019. So many people who come to this channel, you guys talk about a lot about the things that are placed in your communities, right? As Black and brown people that you feel are suppressive to the Black community. And like I tell you guys, I'm here for accountability. So here's the reality. If you feel like Planned Parenthood is in some way against the Black and brown community continuing to make strides, right? This statement goes directly against that. It literally does. It's literally in conflict with that. Okay. So let's look at this one. Less than 20 years ago, gonorrhea rates in the United States were at a historic low. Syphilis was close to elimination. And advances in chlamydia diagnostics made it easier to detect the infection. That progress has since unraveled. I love the way they put that statement because I feel like the progress that we've made in the Black and brown community has since unraveled. Literally every stride that I feel like we took between, I'm going to go all the way back. Every stride that the Black and brown community has made between 1865 and 1980 has been unraveled in between the 90s and now, slowly. And now it's at an all-time high. When I tell you Black people like to make excuses and say that we are not powerful, that we have no voice, that we can't make anything happen, sweetheart. Obviously, we're good at making a lot of things happen because this is Black folks. Y'all are making it happen out here in these streets. Y'all are busy at it. But the question is, why is it that you're not making positive things happen? Why are we talking about the only thing that we can impact are the things that lead to the degradation of us as a culture of people? So for me, I'm asking Black people for accountability because at the end of the day, I feel like, hey, nobody else is holding you accountable. You're looking at pulling a race card every single time you look around. Obviously, it's been something that's working, right? So we're going to pull a race card. Everybody's racist. Everybody's right. As long as we can stay in our negative behaviors that lead to our children being ill when they're born, that lead to our children dying before they even get a chance, that lead to our children being hurt by attachment trauma because we are not present and we can't attend to the psychosocial conditioning of said children. As long as we can model behaviors that do not elevate us, we can make change happen. STDs have serious health consequences. People with these infections do not always experience disease symptoms, but if left untreated, some can cause an increased risk of HIV and cause chronic pelvic pain, pelvic inflammatory disease, which is another disease, infertility. If you're infertile, just saying, if you're infertile, can you offer a man yourself, your legacy? No. No. Can you offer your ancestry, your legacy? Can you offer your community, your legacy? The answer is no, because you can't have a baby. You can't contribute to the legacy of your line. So your lineage dies with your behaviors. So if we're talking about moving into an acceptance of a normalizing of the rhetoric rendered by Kevin Samuels on his channel, then we're looking at normalizing what it is for women to continue to be sex workers and do what it is and what's necessary for them to get money and go after men for money, for the purposes of money. So that contributes to the behaviors that say sex and exchange for money. Not I'm offering you my chastity because I trust you, I yield to you, I want to submit to you. I'm looking at the content of your character as a guarantee that we're going to be okay as a couple longitudinally. Instead, he would okay old creeps looking after young babies in their 20s because they're hypersexual, because they're the people that have increased these numbers. Okay? So, let's look at this. Oh man, it's annoying. Young people. I'm just going to highlight it and look at it. Leave this up here for you guys to sit with it. Can't make this stuff up. Young people aged 15 to 24 make up 61% of chlamydia cases and 42% of gonorrhea cases, and they are both on a continuum. And it's interesting when I hear people make this type of comment. Focusing on hard hit populations is critical to reducing disparities. So if we are to focus on exactly how is it that you want us to focus on this particular population of people who have been really hard hit based on their own behaviors. Because the last time I heard, this is the same population of people that are out here in these streets saying that, oh girl, if let Monique tap me on the shoulders if she see me out in public. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. Like I can do whatever I want to. I'm a woman. I'm liberated. Women can do this. Women can do that. We don't need a man. Blah blah blah. So all of these things, to me, what it says to me is that Black people just simply don't want to be held accountable, regardless of who it is holding us accountable. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for ways to continue the behaviors that perpetuate the cycle of us being disparately targeted by us, and not moving into a place of functionality where we can continue to expand our legacy in a more productive or functional way. So tell me how you guys feel about that. Let's see. Let's go to the comments, producer. Let's look at Refrain. Okay, so Refrain did mention that this one right here, which also speaks to the fact that, you know, we look at the rhetoric brought in by Kevin Samuels' misogynistic show, the woman is objectified and based off of her sexual marketplace. And that definitely makes sense. Now, that's not to say that he has introduced this idea. He's just capitalizing on the fact that these are the realities of our community. So I can't necessarily say he's responsible, but definitely he needs to be held accountable for those ideals that he is continuing to push onto these young people. And I feel like they're definitely not contributing to the positive outcomes of the Black and brown community. Okay, so let's see what we got here from you guys' comment. Nova Real Show brought me here. You're stunning. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know a lot about D Durrell. I think that's the one we heard about, but don't know a lot about. You will have to send me an email at doclqj@gmail.com. And I think that's on the exit show. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you. But so that is all that I have, you guys, for y'all Friday night live discussion. I want you guys to continue to share your insights. I definitely want to hear from you guys how you feel about the amount of inflexibility we as Black and brown people typically move with when it comes to us responding to our children being murdered or killed or losing their lives, depending on how you guys want to refer to it, at the hands of police officers, versus the way that we respond when our children are murdered, killed, lose their lives to gun violence in our same communities where we know Ray Ray and Pookie did it, but don't say anything. So that's all I got, you guys. Hopefully, I've done my due diligence and I've covered this topic expansively. I definitely want to know how you guys feel about the lack of congruence when it comes to Black male accountability as it relates to some of the things that we see are negative cycles of behaviors of females in the Black and brown community. Like, do men feel like they don't have the right or don't have the power to speak on and therefore correct and restructure the behaviors of young women? Is that the reason that we see so much hypersexuality? Or is it more of the men are shaping these behaviors because they're continuing to, buy into and vie for the woman who is hypersexual and select those women and continue that to perpetuate that cycle instead of embracing the fact that we want something more, right? And helping women to reshape behaviors as a result, leaving them out there when they're for the street. So that is all that I have, you guys. Thank you so much. Shout out to the chat because you guys are always so great. That's all I got for tonight. I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. Go out there, be great, live great, make a positive contribution to your community and to the world in general. And if you don't find that you can make a positive contribution this particular weekend or today or in this moment, please don't go out there and infringe on somebody else's peace and their happiness, okay? Continue to live well, be free, do you, but make sure that you incorporate a concern for the general consensus of your community. Later days. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I rip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try it better than me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.